Talk past 15 days.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, sir.
All of you,
Good
can
morning,
you see my
sir.
screen?
Morning, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right.
Good morning.
Right, guys.
Yeah, good morning, sir.
Last session.
Good morning, sir. Yes. Good morning, sir.
Yep. Last session we discussed about IOC and DI. Right? What is IOC container? What is dependency injection? That we have discussed in the last session. Can anyone tell me what is IOC container?
IOC is
Can
a
anyone tell me what is IOC container?
IOC is a
Come
principle
on.
which is used to manage and
IOC
collaborate.
is a principle. IOC is a principle which is used to manage
And collaborate.
and collaborate, manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. IOC is a principle which is used to manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. To manage and collaborate the objects, to manage and collaborate objects, IOC will use dependency injection concept. IOC will use dependency injection. What is dependency injection? What is dependency injection?
Injecting dependent object into target object.
The process of injecting dependent bean object into target bean object is called as dependency injection. The process of injecting dependent bean object into target bean object is called as dependency injection. So what are the techniques that are there to achieve this dependency injection? How many ways we are going to do this dependency injection?
3 ways.
We will use dependency injection in 3 ways. We will use dependency injection in 3 ways. So what are those 3 ways? First one is setter injection. First one is setter injection. Second one is constructor injection. And third one is field injection. Third one is field injection. First one setter injection. Second one constructor injection. Third one field injection. Got it? Now, can you tell me what is a setter injection? Can you tell me what is setter injection?
Injecting the dependent bean object by using setter.
Injecting dependent bean object into target bean object using target bean setter method called as setter injection. Is called as setter injection. We will also call it as SI, setter injection. If the dependent bean object is injected into target bean object through target class setter method, then that is called as setter injection. Okay. For setter injection, to achieve setter injection, we have to specify auto-wide annotation at the setter method. To achieve setter injection, we have to specify at auto-wide annotation at setter method level. To achieve setter injection, we have to specify auto-wide annotation at setter method level. In the previous class, we had developed one example also to understand that. Here I have taken user DAO as a repository. User DAO I have taken as a repository. So this is represented as a Spring Bean. User DAO represented as a Spring Bean. How we represented user DAO as a Spring Bean? By using at repository annotation. Now I have taken one class called user service. So user service is also a Spring Bean, or user service is not a Spring Bean. User service is also a Spring Bean. So how can we say user service is a Spring Bean? How can we say user service is a Spring Bean?
It's annotated with
We used at service annotation. We have used at service annotation. Right. Now, user service is my target. User service is dependent on user DAO. So I have declared a property for user DAO. I want to inject user DAO object into user service object by calling this setter method. So who is going to call the setter method? Programmer will call the setter method, or IOC has to call the setter method?
IOC.
will call the
IOC will call the setter method. How IOC will understand it has to call this setter method?
because it has
How IOC will
auto-wide
understand it
automation.
has to call this setter method?
Because
We have
it
given
auto-wide on it.
auto-wide. We have given at
Auto-wide.
auto-wide. So whenever this user service class object is created, IOC will check is there any auto-wide annotation available in the class. If this auto-wide annotation is available at this method, after this user service class object is created, it is going to call the setter method. Does the setter method having any parameter, or the setter method doesn't have any parameter? This setter method having parameters. What is the parameter of the setter method? User DAO object. So it has to pass the user DAO object as a parameter to this method or not?
Yes.
It has to pass the user DAO object as a parameter to this method or not?
Yes.
It has to pass that user DAO object as a parameter to this method. That parameter we are initializing into current class variable. This is called dependency injection here. How this dependency injection is happening here? How this dependency injection happening here? Can I say
Yes.
dependency injection is happening through setter method?
Yes.
Yes.
Come on, respond. Can I say
Yes.
dependency injection is happening through setter method?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. The dependency injection is happening through setter method. That's why it is called as a setter injection.
Setter injection.
So if I remove auto-wide annotation from here, setter method will be called, or setter method will not be called by IOC.
Will not
Be called.
Called.
Will not be called.
Will not be called. Will be called or will not be called?
Will not
Not be called.
Setter method will not be called. Setter method will not be called. If the
Yeah.
setter method is not called, dependency injection is happening, or dependency injection is not going to happen?
Not going to
Not happening.
Not going to happen. We are going to specify at auto-wide. Then IOC is going to call this setter method. Then dependency injection will happen for user service.
User service.
Dependent bean is injecting into target bean by calling target bean setter method. That is called setter injection. To enable that setter injection, we are writing auto-wide annotation at the setter method in the target class. Got my point? So I hope you are clear with what is a setter injection. Now,
Yes, sir.
in one target, can I inject multiple dependents through setter injections?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Setter injection can do.
I will write one more bean. Private report to DAO. Private report to DAO. Report to DAO. Now there is one more bean I am going to create and I will inject. Can I inject that also or not?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can inject.
Or I no need to write the setter method for this.
No need
Now,
to write.
for user DAO, one setter method is required. For a depot DAO, also one setter method is required. For both setter methods, I need to give @auto void. Then two dependent objects will be injected into my target object. Are you guys comfortable?
Yes, sir.
Now, after that, we discussed about constructor injection also in the last session. What is constructor injection? Come on, guys. What is constructor injection? Just I'm revising the concept. What is constructor
Inject
injection?
dependency
Dependent bean object
to target bin using the target bin parameterized constructor is a called as constructor injection.
Object into target bean object using parameterized constructor. Target bean parameterized constructor is called as constructor injection. Is called as constructor injection.
Constructor injection.
Right. Now, the process of injecting dependent bean object into target bean object using target bean parameterized constructor is called as constructor injection. All right. Now, when I go for constructor injection, auto-wide annotation is mandatory or it is optional?
Optional.
It is optional.
Optional.
Then only
Optional,
one constructor
Depends
is
on the
there.
requirement, guys. I can't say that it is mandatory. I can't say that it's optional. If you have only one parameterized constructor, then auto-wide is optional. If you have more than one parameterized constructor, it is mandatory. Are you able to follow this? So auto-wide annotation is mandatory for the constructor injection or it is optional for the if somebody asks you that question, to achieve constructor injection in the Spring, auto-wide is mandatory or auto-wide is optional? Auto-wide is mandatory or auto-wide is optional?
Depends on requirement. If we are using one or more parameterized constructor, then we can use.
Look at this. Look at this, guys. Now here I am writing two constructors. This is constructor overloading. Constructor overloading. One constructor is taking one parameter, another constructor is taking two parameters. Am I using auto-wide annotation or I am not using auto-wide annotation here?
Not using
Not using auto-wide annotation. Now, dependency injection will happen for this user service or dependency injection will not happen for user service now?
Will not happen.
Will not happen.
If I run this application, what will happen?
Null pointer exception.
Ambiguity problem. It's like no
User service is a Spring Bean or user service is not a Spring Bean?
It's a Spring Bean.
It is a Spring Bean.
Spring Bean. So how we represented this class as a Spring Bean?
That
service annotation.
That means IOC is responsible to create the object for this class or IOC is not responsible to create the object for this class?
Yes.
The object IOC is not responsible to create the object.
Responsible to create
IOC is responsible to create the object for this class. In order to create the object, constructor should be called or without calling the constructor also it can create the object. Constructor should be called. Now, for a user service, default constructor will be available or default constructor will not be available now?
Not available.
Default constructor is available or default constructor is not available for this user service?
Not available.
Why default constructor is not available for user service?
Because it have to pad
Whenever you write your constructor, then compiler will not generate the default constructor. If I don't write these constructors, then default constructor is available or default constructor is not available?
Default constructor is not available.
Will be available.
The writer
Constructor not there, it's available.
Constructors or I am not writing the constructors here?
We
Not
don't need to
writing.
write.
I am not writing the constructor. If I don't write the constructor, compiler will generate the default constructor or compiler will not generate the default constructor?
Compiler will generate the default constructor.
Compiler will generate the default constructor. Now I am writing my own constructors. If I am writing my own constructor, compiler will generate a default constructor or compiler will not generate the default constructor. That means if IOC container wants to create the object for user service, then it has to call either first constructor or it has to call the second constructor. How many options are having for IOC to create the object now?
Two options.
Two options are we have given two options for the IOC container to create the object for user service. One is by using one param constructor, second one is by using two param constructor. Very good. Now suppose if I remove this constructor, how many options I have given for IOC to create the object for
One
user
option.
service?
Only one.
One
One
option.
option. That is one param constructor. Now if I do like this, how many options I have given for IOC to create the object?
Only one.
One option.
Only one.
One option.
Should pass two objects as parameters for the constructor to create the object. Okay. Now, how many options I have given now to create the object?
Two options.
Two options.
How many options I have given to create the object now? Two options I have given.
Two options.
When I gave two options for the IOC container to create the object, IOC will get confused here and it will get ambiguity. It is going to throw ambiguity problems. When I give two options for the IOC, it is getting confused to decide which constructor it has to use to create the object for the target. Able to follow this?
Yes.
Now,
Yes, sir.
if I give this option, it is straightforward. Only one constructor is available. By using that constructor, it is going to create the object. To create the object, to call that constructor, it has to pass the DAO object as a parameter. Dependency injection will happen. Auto wiring is required here or auto wiring is not required here?
Not required.
Not required.
It is not required. Why? Because IOC having only one option to create the object. To create the object, it has to pass the DAO object as a parameter. If the DAO object passes as a parameter, my dependency injection will be completed. So that's why when you have only one parameter constructor, auto wired annotation is optional. Okay. Now, if I have this,
if I have this, if
I have it,
DAO, if user DAO is not annotated with DAO, then what will happen, sir? For example,
if DAO is not available, if the DAO is not a Spring Bean, application will fail.
Application.
Right, application will fail. Whatever you are taking as a parameter, that should also be a Spring Bean.
Okay.
Okay. Right. Now, here I have two constructors. Which constructor it will call to create the object?
Ambiguity. It doesn't know.
Ambiguity. Now, how can we resolve that ambiguity problem?
By using auto annotation.
By using @auto. Directly we are informing the IOC container to call which constructor. Now, by using that constructor, it is going to create the object for the user service. In order to create the object for the user service, does it needs to pass the DAO, user DAO and report DAO also? Yes, because that constructor is taking those two objects as parameters. User DAO object should be passed as a parameter. Report DAO also should be passed as a parameter. Are you guys clear with this one?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Sir, by this one parameter constructor is useless right now.
It is useless now. Yes, it is useless because we are directly calling this constructor.
Okay.
IOC will call this constructor directly to create the object. So when you have that constructor overloading concept here, ambiguity problem will occur. Then you have to specify which constructor should be used for auto wiring.
Okay. If you don't have service annotation, so will dependency injection will work?
You don't have service annotation. First of all, this class object will not be created. If this class object is not created, there is no use of auto wiring here.
I want to execute two constructors, first and second. It will not happen.
You can't do that, right, sir?
Sir, sir, if I provide default constructor also along with these two constructors, then what will happen, sir?
If you don't write this auto wiring, if you write the default constructor, preference will be given to default constructor.
Okay, if I write default constructor as well as auto add annotation,
then auto wiring will get the precedence.
Okay.
Hello, sir.
Sir,
Can that report be static?
Your voice is breaking, sir. Type in the chat box.
Sir, what about if we provide auto add on private user DAO?
That is
That will
field
become
injection.
field injection. That is the next.
Sir, Sir, if we provide auto wide on both the constructor, then what will happen?
You want to provide auto wiring for
Both
Both the constructor.
Okay, right. Let's try. So you are giving auto wiring annotation at the both constructors. First one, it is taking user DAO. Second one, it is taking both. Let's try this.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Right click. Run as boot application.
it gets overridden and displays two param
Two
constructor.
param constructor.
1 second. Right click, run as boot app. What happened?
Again ambiguity.
Invalid auto wire marked constructor. So you are giving auto wiring for two annotations, right?
Yes, sir.
So it is getting confused. It is getting confused. So you should give auto wiring at only one constructor when you have both. Got it?
Okay, got it.
Hello, hello, sir.
Yep.
Can the report DAO we make static and then use the construct? I mean injection.
I did not get your point. You want to make this variable as a static variable.
Yes.
Okay.
And then we use auto wired for constructor injection or setter injection or field injection.
When you
Is it
make
possible?
this static, why you need this object? All the methods will be called by using class name, right? The static variable. Memory will be allocated only one time. Then what is the use of creating the object for that? At the time of creating, at the time of loading the class itself, that object will be created. Still, you can use it. That's not an issue.
Okay.
Can we use a new keyword reference and instead of using auto wired?
Then what is the use of going for Spring? Spring main purpose is to manage the dependents, right? If you use new operator, that means you are creating the object. Then what is the purpose of IOC?
Sir,
What is the
there
purpose
any
of
way-
IOC? The main reason we are going for IOC to manage our objects only, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, mainly to remove the program dependency.
You should not create the objects directly. If you create the objects directly, it will be tightly coupled. To achieve the loosely coupling among the objects only, we are going for IOC container. Okay. Somebody asked me to declare this variable as static. Yes, I have declared it, sir. Still, auto wiring is working. Okay. Fine.
Okay.
Sir, what is the
Right.
bin scope of this bin factor?
All the beans are by default singleton in the Spring.
Singleton only, right?
Yeah. If you represent any class as a Spring bean, that scope will become singleton. We'll talk about the bean scopes also. Good.
Sir,
Right.
I
So
would like
this-
to display both constructors. Is there any way to execute both constructors?
No, sir, you can't do that. It's ambiguity. Okay. Right. When we have only one parameterized constructor, we have only one parameter constructor, then yet auto wide annotation is optional. Right? When auto wide annotation is optional for our dependency injection, guys?
When we have only one parameterized.
One parameterized constructor.
So when you want to perform CI, but there is only one parameter as a constructor available, then going for auto wide annotation is optional. If I have more than one constructor, then you have to specify auto wide annotation in the constructor injection. All right. Next, today's topic, we are going to talk about field injection, guys. Today's topic, we are going for field injection. Right. So in the previous classes, we completed setter injection and constructor injection, and we got the clarity. What is a setter? What is constructor? How to use them also. Now, today we are going to talk about field injection. If we specify auto wide annotation at field level, then IOC will perform field injection. If we specify auto wide annotation at field level, then IOC will perform field injection. Got it? Now, let me create a project for that. So just I will copy this project and I will reuse that same classes. We'll change the way how you will do the dependency injection for that. Okay. Right, let me copy this project, paste it. This is going to be our 04 application where we are going to use field injection. Perfect. Now, field injection. Inside that field injection, go to service layer. Inside this service layer, I don't write any constructors. I don't write any constructor. Just I will declare a variable for that. Just I will declare a variable for that. For that variable, we are going to use @auto void. For that variable, we are writing @auto void. Now, do we have any setter method in the target class, or we don't have any setter method in the target class?
We don't
We
have
don't
any
have.
Method in the target class, or we don't have any setter method in the target class?
We don't have.
We don't have.
Setter method in the target class. Okay, now, so if I execute this application, guys, what is the output? Field injection application I'm trying to execute. Here, application execution will start from main method. In the main method, we are calling run method. Then we are getting reference of the IOC container, context.getBean. What is the purpose of context.getBean?
to get the
What is the purpose of
Initialize.
context.getBean?
to get the bean available inside the IOC
Which bean
container.
object we are trying to get here? User service
User
object
service.
we are trying to get. Service.print username of ID 101. Now go to this method. What we are doing inside the service layer methods? First of all, service is a spring bean or not?
Yes.
Yes.
Spring
bean.
Spring bean.
Yes, it's spring bean.
Service is a spring bean.
A spring
Inside
bean.
the service I am calling user DAO dot find name by ID. So user
John will be
DAO
printed.
is a dependent for the service or not? User DAO
Yes, sir.
is a dependent
sir.
for the service.
Yes. It's dependent.
Now,
Dependent of
so user DAO will be injected to this service or not?
Yes, should be injected.
DAO
It should be
will
injected.
service or not?
Yes.
Yes, it will be
Yes,
injected.
sir.
User DAO will be injected to service. Now, so here user DAO I have declared as a user DAO I have declared it as a variable. Now, for this variable, do I have a setter method?
What? No.
No.
Do I have a setter method for this variable, or I don't have a setter method for this variable?
No, we don't have.
We don't have a setter method for this variable. Do I have a parameterized constructor here, or I don't have a parameterized constructor here?
No, don't have.
So setter method is not available. Parameterized constructor is also not available. Inject. Now my question: user DAO object will be injected to the service, or user DAO object will not be injected to the service?
Will be
injected to the service.
Will be injected to the service.
Will be injected to the service. So if user DAO is injected to the service, what is the output we are going to get for this?
John.
What output we are going to get for this?
John.
John is the output we are going to get for this. If John we are getting as an output, that means our dependency injection is working. Now run this. Run this. John we are getting as output or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
John we are getting as a output. Now I have a question. We don't have a setter method to inject the DAO object. We don't have a constructor also to inject the DAO object. Then how this DAO object is injected to service?
It automatically inject.
How? Something
Because it is field injection is.
Setter injection.
will it call setter method to inject it?
No.
Is it calling the constructor to inject it?
No. It's a field injecting basically.
Field injection.
How come? How come? There is no setter, there is no constructor to pass the DAO object, but we are able to get the DAO object. How it is happening?
By using field name, it will inject.
By using
field injection.
Field name.
Yes, sir. Field name is fine. How to set that value? What value is required for this variable now? User DAO object is required for this variable, right? Does it have a setter method to pass that variable? Does it have a setter method to pass the object? No. Does it have a constructor to pass that object? Without constructor, without setter, how user DAO object is coming to the service is my question.
Because user DAO class is available, it will take the class name and it will identify whether it is a Spring Bean or not.
That's fine, sir. User DAO is a Spring Bean. That object is got created. That's no problem. My question: how DAO object coming to service?
Sir, it's automatically creating by the Spring jars automatically inside backend.
By using user DAO class name.
Mentioning annotation, auto annotation, it is creating the object in the backend. Field injection.
I'm asking what is happening in the backend.
By using class
method
name.
is called. Setter it is called. It is internally creating setter method and injecting
Sir, I'm saying, sir, what is happening is it is in the backend. It is search for default. First, search for that any constructor or setter declared in the class. If it is declared, it go for that. Otherwise, it will execute the default constructor.
No, you're wrong.
Sir, first
By using class name.
scanning that services.
Default constructor created, but after that,
It will search for camel case variable name.
I can change the variable name. I can
No.
We'll see the class name only.
Internally calling setter injection.
By using class name, it will inject.
How it
Sir,
is
internally.
IOC container internally it will perform the setter injection.
Hold on. Somebody saying that internally it is calling setter injection. Do I have a setter method to inject it?
No.
Then how it will call the setter method?
Sir, implicitly it will be calling by the IOC.
Setter method?
Setter method auto-wide is enabled inside the setter method.
No.
It will use
Sir, components can.
Internally use reflection API to create
Exactly.
the object.
Exactly. That's right. Internally, it will use reflection API to perform the field injection. It will not use the setter. It will not use the constructor. When you specify auto-wide annotation at the variable level, it will not use a setter method internally. It will not use a constructor internally to inject the dependent object. When you specify auto-wide annotation at the variable level, internally IOC will use reflection API to inject the value to the variable. Why it is using reflection API? This is a private variable. Okay, this is a private variable. Now, simple example, sir. Simple example. You have a class demo. You have a class called demo. Inside the class, you have one variable private user DAO is equal to null value. User DAO is equal to null value. That class is completed. Some logic is there. Now, outside, I am going to create user DAO is equal to new user DAO. Can I create the object for this DAO class or not? Yes. I can create the object for the DAO class. Demo D is equal to new demo. Now, can I call D.DAO is equal to user DAO? Can I do that? So suppose, sir, forget about it. Remove it. Now, this is one more class. Class test. Inside this class, we are having public static void main, string arguments. Is this code is valid or not valid? Is this code is valid or not valid, guys? Is this code valid or not valid? Valid or not valid? Valid. Now, can I say it is also a field injection?
Yes, sir.
Can I say it is a field injection or not? Look at the code and tell me. Can I say it is a field injection?
Yes.
Guys, come on, please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
It is a field injection because here I have taken a class demo. Inside the demo class, I have declared one variable. I have declared one variable public user DAO is equal to null. Can I access this public variable outside of the class?
Yes,
sir. Yes.
Can I access this variable outside of the class?
Yes.
Can I store some value to this variable from outside of the class? Can I initialize this variable from outside of the class?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I have taken one class called a test class. Inside the test class, I have a main method. Inside the main method, I created the object for user DAO manually. Forget about it. I have created the object. Now I have my object ready. DAO object is ready. Then I have created the object for my target called demo. This is my target. This is my dependent. My dependent object is ready. Now I have created my target object. Using this target object, can I access target class variable or not?
Yes, we can access.
Yes.
Can I access target class variable or not?
Yes, we can access.
Yes.
I can access my target class variable. When I access my target class variable, can I access the variable of the target class, which is public?
Public. Yes.
Yes.
D.DAO is equal to user DAO object. So I am injecting DAO object into DAO variable. I'm injecting user DAO object into DAO variable of my target class. So can I say that I am doing field injection here?
Yes.
Can I say that I am doing field injection here?
Yes, sir.
Injecting dependent object into target object through variable. I am injecting dependent object into target object through target class variable. Variable is called as a property, or it can also be called as a field. So how the dependent object is injecting into target object here? Can I say it is injecting through field?
Yes.
So if it is injecting through field, can we call this operation as a field injection? Can we say this operation as a field injection?
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
We can say.
In order to inject the value to a variable, do I really need a setter method for this variable?
No, not
No need.
Do you need a parameter as a constructor for this variable?
No.
No, just if you know variable initialization, in the first classes of core Java, they will tell you how to declare a variable, how to initialize a variable. Here, you have declared the variable. Here, I am initializing the variable. If you are initializing the value to a variable, that is called field injection. That is called field injection. Now, suppose if I do like this, integer I. Now, I is equal to 10. Am I injecting 10 value to I variable?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? Can I say I'm injecting 10 value to I variable?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Can I say it is a field injection now? Yes, we are injecting a value to a variable. We are injecting a value to a field. That is called field injection only. Able to follow this? Right. Now, similarly here in the Spring, we are going to write auto-word annotation at the variable level. Auto-word annotation at the variable level. So, I am writing auto-word annotation at the variable level means IOC container should inject user DAO object into ABC variable. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes,
now tell me, do we really need setter method to inject the object here, or we don't need the setter method to inject the object here?
No need.
No need, sir.
No need. Do we need the constructor to inject the DAO object, or we don't need the constructor to inject the DAO object?
Not needed for
No need.
No need, sir.
Not needed. Directly to this variable, can we store the value or not?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
To the variable, can we store the value or not?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir.
We can.
Come on, guys, please respond.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can, sir.
We can, sir.
Now, my question is very simple. Can I store the variable? Can I store the value to a variable from outside of the class?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Can store
Yes,
it.
sir.
Yes.
Yes,
I can store the value to the variable from outside of the class. Can I call it as a field injection?
Yes, we can say.
We can say it is a field injection.
Injection.
Okay, fine. Now a small change, guys. I am declaring this variable as a private variable. Earlier it is public, now it is private. If it is private variable, can I do this or I cannot do this?
We cannot
Cannot do this.
We cannot
Cannot do
do
this.
this.
Private is
Can I do
yes.
this or I cannot do this?
We cannot do
Cannot.
this.
We cannot.
We cannot do this. Why we cannot do this?
It's a private variable.
It's private variable
So
outside the
Private
class.
variable and it is not accessible outside the class.
It is a private variable available in the class. Private variables we can access only within the
inside the
class.
class.
But I am going to access the private variable from outside of the class according to OOPS concepts. Valid or it is invalid?
Invalid.
Scope issue.
It is a invalid. Okay, very good. Hold on. Hold on, guys. I'm going to create one class, new class. Guys, please mute your mic. New class. I'm going to create one class with a name called user. I'm going to create one class with a name called user. Okay. User class I'm creating. Inside the user class, I'm declaring one variable, guys. Private integer age variable. Now I'm writing one method, public integer get age. Public integer get age, return age variable. Okay, or else this getter method is also not required, leave it. Now I have a variable called age variable. What is the scope of this variable? Private. Now let me go for one class, new class test. Okay, new class test. Inside this, I'm creating main method. I'm creating object for user. User is equal to new user. User dot age is equal to 30. Can I store like this or I cannot store like this?
We cannot.
We cannot store like this. Why? It is private. It is private.
Private.
I will do one thing. Class dot for name, com dot ashokit dot test dot user. Com dot ashokit dot test dot user. I'm loading this user class into memory by using class dot for name. Now once it is done, class dot for name, it is going to return class object. It is going to return what object? Class object. Right. Once we got this class object, class dot new instance. I got the object. Okay. Object class dot get declared field. Class dot get declared field. What is that field name? Age. What is the field name? Age. Age field. Now what I will do is age field dot set accessible to true. Age dot set accessible to true. So I'm setting accessibility for the age field value. Okay. Now after this, class object dot or class dot, one second. Object dot age field dot set accessible to true. Now age field dot set value object comma value is 30. Age field dot set of object dot 30. Next one, age field dot get of object. Age field dot get of object. System dot out dot println right of object. Now see here what I am trying to do in this program. Guys, what I am trying to do in this program?
We are making
Loading the class.
We are loading the class and then
we are using of age object of age class.
Class, creating the object and getting the.
We are loading the class by using class dot for name. We are loading the class by using class dot for name. Then we are getting the field. by using get declared field.
And then make it accessible.
Make it accessible.
After
Making
that,
it accessible, then setting the
and then
value to
setting
the
the value.
variable,
Setting the
setting
value
the
and
value to
then
the
passing the
variable,
value.
setting the value to the variable and getting the value from the variable. Okay, let's execute it. Let's execute this program. Test class. Are we able to get the age 30?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
That age is a private variable or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Are we able to set the value to the private variable from outside of the class?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
we can
Are
set.
we able
Yes.
to access the
Yes.
private variable from outside of the class?
Yes.
Yes,
By
sir.
using what? By using what?
Class dot for
Class
name.
dot for name.
Reflection API. By using what? Reflection API. By using reflection API, we are able to access the private variables from outside of the class. We are able to set the value to the private variable from outside of the class. We are able to get the value of the private variable from outside of the class. Now, as a programmer, I am able to inject the value to the variable from outside of the class. Can I say that here I am doing field injection?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. We can say.
Yes, I can say that here I am doing a field injection. Even though it is a private, from outside of the class, I am able to perform the field injection. Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now, as a programmer, if we are able to inject the value to the private variable from outside of the class, can IOC also do the same thing for this variable?
Yes, yes, yes.
Same thing.
So now tell me how IOC is injecting user DAO object to this DAO variable, even though it is a private.
By using
Reflection API.
Reflection API.
This kind of logic our IOC is going to execute. Our IOC is going to load your user service class. It is going to create the object for that. It is going to get the field value. It is going to set the field as accessible. It is going to pass user DAO object to that variable by calling this set method. That is how the dependency injection will happen for this variable. That is called field injection in the Spring. 99% of the people don't know what is going to happen when you specify auto-void annotation at the variable.
We are breaking the OOPS principles here only with
Yes,
the help of
here IOC container is not respecting the OOPS principle. IOC container breaking the OOPS principle here. IOC container will use that reflection API internally to inject the dependent object into target class variable. So that's why the field injection is not recommended to use in the projects. But it is easy. Most of the people will follow the same approach. But internally, they don't know what is happening. People think that when we specify auto-void at the variable level, internally it will generate the setter method and it will call the setter method. No, it won't generate the setter, it won't call the setter. Internally, it will use the reflection API to inject the value to this variable, even though it is private. How it is going to inject the value to this variable? Like this. Am I able to inject the value to private variable from outside of the class? Now, in the user class, age variable is an integer. So that's why I have injected 30 value. I injected 30 value. Suppose if it is having some other object address. Now, can I pass address class object to that variable now? Can I pass address class object to that variable now?
Yes, yes.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So similarly, our IOC container is injecting user DAO object to the DAO variable by using reflection API. By using reflection API.
Okay.
Now tell me,
sir, one question here.
How field injection is working in the Spring?
using reflection.
How field injection is working in the Spring?
So it internally calls reflection API.
Internally, IOC container, it will perform the reflection API.
What is the meaning of field injection? Setting the value to the variable is called as field injection. What is field injection? Setting the value to the variable is called as field injection. Now, here the variable is a private variable. How it is setting the value to the private variable from outside of the class?
by using reflection
API. Now, tell me answer for this. Can I access private variable from outside of the class in the Java?
Yes.
No.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
We
can, but reflection API.
No, generally we cannot able to access by using reflection API.
Yes, yes.
So what is your answer now?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
So we can access private variables from outside of the class also by using reflection API. Now, Where IOC is using reflection API, when we specify auto-wide annotation, when we specify
And the variable
auto-wide
level.
annotation at the variable level, it is going to perform reflection API. For the field injection, IOC is going to perform the reflection API. Are you guys clear with this one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right, right. Reflection
Sir, one
API
question
is
here.
recommended. Reflection API is recommended. Or reflection API is not recommended.
Not recommended.
Not recommended.
Not recommended.
Why it is not recommended? That also I am going to cover in the tomorrow's session. Okay. Fine.
Sir, one question
so
here, sir.
setter injection will be performed through setter method. Constructor injection will be performed through constructor, whereas field injection will be performed through reflection
Reflection
API.
API.
Right now, yes. Tell me, sir. Any questions?
Yes, sir.
How to
So,
load STS?
Sorry.
Sir, how to load STS? How to install in my computer STS?
You just download the IDE, sir. I will give the link. I will send you a link in the mail.
Okay, sir.
sir, one question here, sir. If we change this private to public, will the IOC will perform all these tasks, or it directly assign that your user DAO object to that?
No, sir. Even if you give it as a public, some people will give as a public, some people may not give as a public. So IOC will use the reflection only to inject that value, because they may have some logic to recognize what is the modifier. If the modifier is public, directly they can store the object. If the modifier is private, then they will use the reflection. We have to see the internal code of that.
Okay, sir.
Got it?
Got it.
Through reflection API, the private variable, the private access specifier is losing its own characteristics. It is, can I say it's one of the limitation or not for private?
I did not get you.
Actually, we use variables. For variables, we use private access specifier, right?
Yes.
Through reflection API, we are accessing the variables outside the class, and we are modifying the variable also. We are initializing and modifying the variable also. Through that, private variable is losing its own characteristics. That
yes, sir. This is one of the loophole.
Yeah, this is one of the loophole, right?
They provided this mechanism, but it is not recommended to use in the project, sir.
Then how? It's not recommended. Okay. Then we cannot.
This is called as a loosely coupled, sir, between object classes.
Yes, sir. We can say that.
Generally,
instead of taking the class here, we will take an interface here. Going forward, we will see the interface here.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, inside user service class.
Abstraction capacity, right?
Sorry.
It's losing its abstraction capacity when we use reflection API.
Yes, sir. That's so generally field injection should not be used in the project, man. I will tell you why it should not be used in the tomorrow session. I will cover that part.
Yeah. Good morning, Ashok.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Then in Java there is such thing called perfect singleton class. We cannot create.
Yes, we can't create it.
Every time we will try to create it, we break, like with
reflection API. Reflection API can break it.
Okay.
Sir, can you share one program, because I never do the program in STS.
Sure. I will share it, sir.
Sir, inside user service class, actually, what if you have primitive type dependencies or collection type dependencies? Will
auto wiring will happen only for reference to types, not for the primitives. Still, we did not enter into auto wiring. Once we enter into auto wiring, I will tell you for what type of variables we can do auto wiring, for what type of variables we can't do the auto wiring.
No, sir, my question is like for primitive types, what type of injection will happen, sir?
Normally, we have to
set the value field injection.
Okay.
Or settler methods we can construct. We can. Auto wiring is not applicable for primitive types. That is what I want to say.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Sir, can auto wiring can be done only for user-defined classes or some library level classes?
Library level classes also we can do, sir. Not only for user-defined, any reference to types.
Primitives, collection types.
Okay.
Yeah. Suppose there is a predefined class available, REST template. Okay. Or there is a predefined class available, JDBC template.
Okay.
Right. for them we can use auto wiring. For class types we can do auto wiring. Reference types we can do. The primitives we can't do.
Okay.
So guys, do you understand what is happening when I specify auto wide at the variable level?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So what is happening when I specify auto wiring at the variable level?
We'll call internal reflection API.
Internally, it is calling reflection API to access the variable and to set the value.
Values.
So how to access the private variable from outside of the class? This is the code that I am giving. Okay, so please practice this code before coming to tomorrow's session. So with this, we completed what is IOC, what is DI, what is setter, what is constructor, what is field injection. Okay, so tomorrow we'll compare all those three: when to go for setter, when to go for constructor, why field injection is not recommended,